We are happy to have everyone here today with our GIP quarterly call. And I believe Christine?
Yes, I'm here.
There we are. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We had a little bit of a technical challenge there, but I think we're up and running.
All right. Well, Sean, thank you so much. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. My technical difficulties allowed a few of you to jump on a little later than right at 11, so it's good for everybody. I, too, want to welcome all of our GIPs to what we think at SCRS is a very important form of communication. And I'm not going to steal the thunder from each of the individuals who work with SCRS and what they've been up to, since you've seen some of them since, or you haven't seen some of them since the summit last year. But I do want to just announce again that the shift between Diana Anderson-Foster, who now took over special projects, and you'll be hearing from her on the incredible job that is being done on diversity, and Sean Sos, who many of you know on the exhibit side, has now taken over as well the GIP side. So hence the reason Sean is navigating this and doing just a fabulous job. So Sean, thank you for all of that. You're going to, as always, be pleasantly surprised, I hope, by the amount of work that's being accomplished. However, I want to reemphasize, like Regina did, say, use the chat room, the chat box. Let us know what you're thinking. Our Leadership Council met just a couple of weeks ago, and we walked away with so many new ideas. Hard to believe, but there are still more new ideas that all partners being represented on the Leadership Council thought were important for SCRS to take a look at. So no doubt you'll be hearing more about that in the coming months. So Sean, thank you to you and the entire team for everything you did, and thank you to all of our GIPs for showing up for today for this very important call. And I look forward to seeing all of you, if not before. There are a couple of meetings coming up, so I'm sure we'll run into each other, but most definitely at the summit in beautiful Boca Raton, which I think beats the floods we're having here in Maryland. So we can't wait to see you in October. And as always, if anybody needs anything, just let us know. So Sean, I'll turn it back over to you, and let's get started.
Thanks, Christine, and thanks, everyone. I'm just going to briefly share today. We're going to go over a few of the organizational updates that SCRS has. We're really pleased that everyone could join us today on a new platform for our GIP webcast. What we've been hearing as a team is that you guys, individually at your organizations, would like to be able to share more about what SCRS is doing so that your site-facing and strategic and innovation teams can know a little bit more about SCRS, especially if they're new to your organizations or haven't been part of a summit or a GIP call before. So this meeting today is being recorded, and it's also going to be transposed into video for you to share with colleagues. The only thing that they'll need to do is register to download the presentation. So we'll have both the slide deck and the video available for you tomorrow. The other thing that we'll talk about a little bit, we'll get an update from Jimmy on some of the GIP initiatives and how those are looking moving into the final part of 2018, if you can believe it. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on at the Global Site Solutions Summit, and of course, where we're headed with our GIPs into 2019. So one thing that many of you ask is, tell us a little bit about your membership, and it continues to grow. We're zeroing in on 10,000 sites being represented globally. That growth has really been spurred by the Global Impact Partners just a few years ago, sharing that globalization was key to your efforts and your work, frankly, around the globe. And so we'll talk a little bit about how that's being accomplished, but just in general, know that from a makeup standpoint, 70% of our membership comes from OUS at this point. So 70% of the folks that we reach as members, some of them are through networks as well, come to us OUS. 30%, of course, here in the States. In terms of just the overall makeup, around 70% of those sites are private and freestanding, and that 30% would be the hospital academic settings. a lot of times we'll also ask, well, can you help us approach naive sites? And just know that we're working on that. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but I'll tell you that about 11.3% of our membership comes from emerging sites, folks that do less than about $250,000 a year in revenue around research, and many of them come from developing countries. As we grow, we're looking at how we can approach those regions in a meaningful way, and we're real excited about getting to that 10,000. Hopefully, before the end of the year, maybe even on our next call, we'll be able to share the progress there. Some folks I've learned don't have an understanding of who the other GIPs are. I know many of you have new teams or are new to SCRS. Perhaps your organization has been with us for a while and have worked with myself, Diana, and Christine over the years. But this slide just kind of shows a little bit about the breakdown of our Global Impact Partner Program. Sometimes folks say, well, how do we get involved? And we'll talk a little bit about that today. So if you're new to SCRS and just have those general questions, we are here to help always, but we'll review some of that on our call. Really, the GIP program is to allow industry stakeholders really just to come together, talk about the challenges in industry as they relate to site success, and let those challenges inform our strategy. It's how we've built many of our programs, how we approach content at the Site Solution Summits, and how we build out new initiatives and programs around things like the SCRS Oncology program. These are all things that we will continue to cover, and hopefully you all will join us in Boca Raton in person and get a chance to meet one another if you haven't over the years. We anticipate a great meeting in Boca at concluding the summit. And with that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Jimmy Bechtel, who's the Senior Project Manager and responsible for both GIP Initiatives and our Leadership Council, to give us a few updates on recent events around the leadership meeting. Jimmy?
Great. Thank you, Sean. So our Leadership Council met back in June in Annapolis, this time just with our site representatives, and it ended up producing an extremely productive meeting. After we went through some introductions and brief overviews of our current programs with the group, we jumped right into our site landscape survey discussion. And this was an opportunity for us to learn, because we asked our members to help us come up with new questions, topics, and some concepts around that survey. We know that the industry is always changing, so the information we gather and report on at our Global Summit needs to change also. So again, we gathered some great topics and have a lot of new questions that we're going to incorporate into that survey for 2018 and thus report on at the summit. Then, after some great networking, we asked the membership to come prepared with some short-term and long-term ideas for our future, some of the projects that we work on, what we should be focusing on, what we should be investigating. So they came with the ideas, we discussed them, and then narrowed down as a group the top 3 priority for long-term and short-term, then discuss those in more detail. This produced some really great ideas that will directly influence the path that SCRS will take over the next 1 to 3 years.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate that. We're going to hear a little bit more from Jimmy later in the webcast on some of the SCRS initiatives. But it was great to get together with some of our long-term members, folks that have been there from the beginning, and some new faces at the SCRS Leadership Council to understand a little bit more about how, as sites, they're interacting with their membership and gaining the benefits from it. We also were able to hear some wonderful stories about how SCRS has impacted their organizations at the site level, which we will hopefully share together at the summit this year. And with that, I'd like to introduce, I think everyone knows, my colleague Diana. Diana Foster is Vice President of Strategy with SCRS. And she has been working diligently with the initiative around diversity. And Diana, look forward to hearing your update.
Thank you, Sean. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to have a chance this morning to report on the status of our diversity project. As many of you know, you've followed the work that's been done in 2016 and 17. We are continuing to move full steam ahead, and we're tracking with our volume of work and our projected timelines. And quite honestly, when I say on this slide, the active working group members, this has been an incredibly active and committed working group, and so we would not be able to honestly have fulfilled the commitments of the project without this activity from this group. So I'd like to take a moment and just mention them again, and we do have some new members coming as the group has continued to evolve and grow. Jackie Cole with Lilly, Teresa Devins with BI, Mary Elmer at Merck, as well as Madeline Gaudet with Merck, Vanessa Gertzen joining us now with Accurian, Missy Heidelberg coming on recently with Roche, and Marie Ingles, GSK now becoming a funding sponsor, Effie Manos with Janssen, Janssen recommitting their fiscal commitment to the project as well this year, and Fabian Sandoval representing the site perspective. When I mentioned I'd like to have a second face-to-face working group this year, again, quite honestly, the group immediately responded, yes, let's do that. This is important that we keep our pace, and the best way to do that is to take our time and come together once again in Baltimore, which we will be doing on August 2nd. During that time, or let me report probably most importantly at the moment, is that we have completed our survey data paper that you've heard us discuss in the past of 488 some respondents. The title of that paper is Recruiting Diverse Patient Populations in Clinical Studies, Factors that Drive Site Success. It is a professional document. It is about a 12-page manuscript with an assessment of the data, a discussion of the data. We did internally, as well as within the working group, discuss the potential of publishing the paper in a journal, and we ultimately selected that we did not want delays in disseminating this information to our partners, to our constituents, our members, and that we wanted to move this paper through a channel that would allow us to disseminate this information more quickly. So you can see the plans for distribution are listed here on this slide, which include publishing to our website. You'll be receiving the paper along with a short summary of the work behind it shortly. Our working group partners have edited, approved the paper, have the paper in hand currently. We'll be writing a summary article for the September Insight Journal, and it will become the lead topic in August Metrics That Matter newsletter. And social media campaign will be initiated also around the findings of the paper. In our meeting, and during our meeting August 2nd, mainly we will be focusing on a couple of different important areas. Completing our planning for the 2018 Site Solutions Summit. We will be holding 3 presentations this year. We had the floor last year in a plenary session and a learning lab. This will continue, which will occur again in the Boca Raton meeting in October. We will have joining us at the podium for the plenary session to go over the progress of the project with all of the attendees of the meeting by our corporate premier sponsors, myself, Merck, and Janssen. We'll be holding a master workshop, Developing New Revenue Through Successfully Executing and Leveraging Your Site's Capabilities in Enrolling and Retaining Diverse Patient Populations, and we'll also be holding a learning lab. And again, many of the working group members will be participating in these presentations, and we're excited to have an opportunity to distribute our work to the whole of our membership. The next slide is just a very brief overview of the work we're doing, which will occupy most of our time throughout the rest of this year and then into 2019. And that is the development of an original instrument, a paper and pencil instrument, to serve as an assessment of sites' practices related to their either best practices or lack thereof related to successful enrollment of diverse patients in clinical trials. We'll be working on how now this instrument the questions have been developed in a draft format with a lot of work over the last 6 to 8 months to get to that point. We'll now be working on plans for the scoring, how the instrument will be introduced, how it will be explained, and then we'll be rolling it out and implementing it through a series also of webinars. Beginning next month, we have a bi-monthly webinar series on diversity. We also have All of our speakers are lined out. That it's posted on the website now, and so that will begin going, as I said, soon, and we're quite excited to see what sort of response and feedback we have to the webinar series, along with the work we'll be doing on the site assessment tool. We'll be reporting that in the webinar series, and as I said, at the summit meeting. So in 2019, where this will take us, we'll be working more diligently on the understanding of the tool, specifically validation and reliability of that tool, collecting metrics as to the dissemination, the use, execution of the tool, and reporting that back in 2019. So that is a quick overview of that work, and I believe we're taking questions at the end of the presentation, so I will pass the baton. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you to you and everyone who's been involved with our diversity project, doing some astounding work as a team, and appreciate and anxious really to hear the presentation at the Site Solutions Summit this year. Many of our sponsor and CRO GIP members have been asking about work within diverse patient engagement, and I think the work that this group is doing will be instrumental into some of the topic areas that we hope to present this year in Boca and beyond. Thanks, Diana.
You're welcome.
One of the other big initiatives that has started in 2018 is our oncology program, and the working group came together. In our last call, we talked about the first meeting that was held in New York City this past April. And this is just a very brief update on what has transpired since our last call and where it's headed next. The Oncology Site Solution Summit will be held in Austin, Texas at the beginning of February in 2019. And the meeting will be a similar setup to some of our other meetings, like a Friday arrival and then a Saturday, Sunday program. This year, we expect the Site Solutions Summit Oncology program to be launched at the end of August, so you'll be able to see what the agenda looks like. Some of the topic groups, my colleague Dan and Dawn have been working hard at organizing that with the working group that came out of the first oncology meeting. And just a little note about those that working group. The charters are complete, and there's 3 working groups within that oncology program that are helping SCRS form next steps, and those are of course, the Oncology Site Solutions Summit Working Group that I had mentioned. They've been instrumental in helping Dan, Dawn, Christine, and the rest of the team organize what the program may look like moving into 2019 for our first Oncology Summit. Then there's the Site Assessment and Engagement Working Group. We organized these. They were separate groups at first, and now they'll be together working on how SCRS can share its mission with oncology sites and academics throughout the country and world. They're really responsible for how SCRS shapes its mission around message for those folks. We'll have a better update once this group actually gets together. We have a big call on Friday with everyone that's participating in this oncology program. And one of the things we hope to accomplish again in late August is really a micro-survey around oncology, specific to oncology, just around who's participating in oncology, what's important. Many of the working group members have shared that what's important for the oncology sites that practice oncology are certainly the same as everyone in other parts of research. However, the complexity and experience necessary does require new language and opportunity. So that survey is really meant to help us get to the root of some of the things that SCRS needs to be working on with our oncology program members. And with that, it's almost hard to believe that he's back in the States, because I'm pretty sure Dan's been on a world tour, but my colleague Dan Milam, Vice President of Global Engagement for the SCRS, is here to share a little bit about what's going on with our ambassador programs and most recently our APAC Summit. Dan?
Great. Thanks, Sean. And yes, as you can see on the screen here, the picture from our recent Ambassador Symposium held in Taiwan of all the attendees and site and industry representatives who participated in the symposium and we had a great meeting. The focus of the Ambassador Program is to support the site community in countries around the world. And currently 7 countries are sponsored under the Ambassador Program. And I'd like to thank Syneos Health, Lilly, and Acurian who have partnered with us to date, and I know there are many others who are interested in being a part of this program. In addition to the SCRS membership scholarship offered to each site within these countries and other activities that are conducted, SCRS hosts Ambassador Symposiums during the first 2 years in these countries. The one-day symposium connects key members of the site community with SCRS to bring awareness to the mission of SCRS and support and networking to the sites. Earlier this year, we held these Ambassador Symposiums in Hungary and Poland with great attendance and excitement generated within those countries. And in July, just a few weeks ago, we conducted 2 Ambassador Symposiums in Taiwan and South Korea. We had nearly 100 in attendance in Taiwan and 50 in South Korea. And with those sites receiving the SCRS membership scholarship in attendance, and we see the awareness of the Ambassador Program grow within each country, and the site community is growing stronger and growing together and able to make some great networking opportunities with the industry and our partners in those countries. The numbers within these countries have increased over 300%. The number of sites that have been involved increased over 300% since the beginning of January, and we continue to see excellent growth within each of these countries as we continue to partner with sites and the community leaders.
Dan, I did want to add that we saw that firsthand. When Dan and I attended the DIA meeting this past June in Boston, as many of our GIP organizations did, either as exhibitors or speakers, and many of the ambassador sites were in attendance at that meeting. They had a presentation, and they stopped Dan and just shared how much of an impact building a community is. And I think that's something to remember, because a lot of folks have asked us about the Ambassador Program and getting into new markets that aren't currently on this slide. We are interested in that, of course, but there is quite an investment that goes into helping these communities grow and thrive. And we're also a cultural curve. We're learning some of the elements that go into approaching each of these regions. What is important to these folks? Why would they even join in the first place? What is the benefit to them? It's a little different than a member organization here in the States or even in Europe. And I will share that as a topic. This is one that we hope to ask our GIPs for some help on, just in thinking through and maybe some design thinking around delivering SCRS across the globe. Is there other ways to perhaps tackle this interest that so many folks have? It's easy to join one site at a time, but establishing the community through the Ambassador Program does take work and investment from our partners, investment from our team. And so we're looking, are there other ways to do this, and can we lean on some of the global expertise that many of you have and can share with us following the summit? That'll be one of the agenda items that the GIP face-to-face meeting covers, is our Ambassador Program and the potential there. So Dan, thank you for all the work you've been doing on that.
You're welcome. Thanks, Sean.
And I know one of the regions that you guys you're covering here is, of course, the Asia-Pac region, and you were just down in Melbourne for the Site Solution Summit there, and thought it'd be helpful for folks to hear what you experienced.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a great meeting at the APAC Site Solution Summit with over 215 in attendance giving us our largest attended APAC Summit to date. A lot of great energy and discussion came out of this meeting, and we're able to award our first APAC SCRS. And for those of you who may not know what the SCRS stands for, it's Site Patient Recruitment Innovation Award, and it was awarded to a Melbourne site, the oncology department, who shared an innovative strategy and solution to overcome a recruitment challenge in a phase 2 oncology trial. And we had some great presentations from finalists in that award process as well. And we received many positive comments from the sites regarding the agenda. They truly appreciated the site-focused agenda and really appreciated the involvement from the representatives from pharma, Zero, and our solution providers in the discussion during these sessions and hearing from the topic experts. And I just want to say thanks to all our GIPs on the call and who were involved. Many thanks to your APAC representatives who participated on these panels in this year's summit. Without them, we couldn't make this summit work as well as it did with the discussions and the connections between our site and industry. And I know the sites truly appreciate it, and they voiced that over and over. Thanks, Sean.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Dan. Everyone, you know, the APAC meeting is a wonderful representation of an initiative that GIPs brought to the table just a few years ago. Every once in a while, I have to remind everyone that we've only been around for a few years, but in that time, we've grown to approach the global market and the regions that folks have helped us prioritize where research is being done in a way that we think is meaningful. And again, trying to bring the community aspect to that region is something that we're committed to. The APAC meeting has gone so well that they're hoping that we can come back again in 2019. Normally it's been every other year, but the momentum is there and interest is there to potentially explore 2019. And Dan and Allison have been key members in helping us move the needle there. So thank you, and thanks to anyone that was involved in that meeting. And if you'd like to learn more about the APAC or European meetings, anytime we are happy to share how those are similar and how they're different for our audiences that attend. Just let us know. We're happy to have a call on some of these. Now, in our GIP calls and meetings over the last few months, you know, we meet with all types of GIPs. Some folks are learning how to be a GIP. Some folks have been extremely active GIPs, and some folks are more passive GIPs, looking, you know, kind of looking at a larger scope. The GIP program is meant to be as involved as you'd like to be as an organization, and Jimmy is going to share a little bit about some of the direct initiatives that the GIP program has built and that we've shared together in industry. So here to share a little bit about some of these initiatives is Jimmy.
Great, thanks again, Sean. So the first one I'd like to talk to you guys about is CLEAR. SCRS has developed and published the Common Language Evaluation and Reconciliation, or CLEAR, white paper back in late 2016. And as a refresher, CLEAR contains 5 often contentious clauses in our CTAs that were mutually agreed upon as being acceptable not only by sites but also Transcelerate, Biopharma, and ACRO. All of this work is really designed to come together to speed the CTA execution process so that we can get medicines to patients faster, which is really what we're all here to do. We're in the process now of learning about adoption best practices, any barriers that companies, GIPs, or sites alike have encountered, and general information dissemination so that this really can become an industry standard. And we hope that you all can move towards adoption because this is truly something that sites and patients need and want. In addition to CLEAR, we're also deep in workings on a industry partner of choice webinar series. We're close to finalizing the details on this long-awaited program, which is really focused on how you can become the industry partner of choice. This 5-part series will primarily consist of a site panel and that focus on various topics like feasibility, site selection, and startup, just to name a couple. This webinar series will give you a direct opportunity to learn from those sites in a very structured way about the things that you guys can do to become the company to want to work with in an ever-narrowing and really increasingly competitive site market. Moving on, I'd like to talk about the Trial Opportunity Platform, or TOP. The TOP has been around for nearly a year now as a simple but really necessary link between sites and available studies. So sponsors and CROs like you offer their trials that are in site selection to SCRS for posting on our TOP platform. Those trials are then associated with a direct contact to the study for consideration that the sites can directly have access to. They also then use this platform to find studies they're qualified for and reach out to that governing entity directly. Unfortunately, we don't have tremendous uptake in TOP as far as the GIPs go, but we have great site uptake, so we're really hoping that we host a webinar on August 1st to talk through some of those successes that others have seen and how to overcome some of those barriers. We can get everybody on board so that the spirit of the program really shines. Next is the Best Site Practices. The Best Site Practices program has been in development, again, for some time, but is based off one of our critical white papers that we put forth. These are standards in that white paper that the industry as a whole has agreed upon as really being those that are considered best practices for sites to maintain and are focused on focused really on the importance and are ranked statistically. Member sites are able to log into their SCRS account and take a questionnaire and self-report on those adherence to those best practices. They're then produced a score for that individual category in things such as qualifications and PI oversight, startup performance, and their facilities and processes they have in place, and an overall score as a summary of those categories. Sites can then choose with whom they want to share that score with, including SCRS, but the real power is that if a low score is obtained, they're presented automatically with some available resources that SCRS has for boosting that particular score, like some of our modules and webinars that we've hosted in the past. In 12 months, they can then take that questionnaire again, but you guys can really use this as a metric for site quality when discussing feasibility with sites. And finally, the I'm with SCRS program. I'm with SCRS is a really excellent opportunity for you all to showcase your commitment to the sites. On our website, we're going to publish your individual progress towards implementing key projects that have been developed to enhance partnership, which include clear site payment terms that we've pushed a white paper out for, payment reconciliation, and the trial opportunity platform. Sites will be able to see whom they can expect these programs to be enabled through for ease of integration on their part, but you guys have the opportunity to show where you have taken steps to foster that relationship with sites and where new opportunities to continue to do so might lay.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jimmy. And everyone, with the I'm with SCRS, one thing that I've learned from speaking to members at other shows is a lot of times they want to know, well, who's taking the steps, who's working on these initiatives, who's involved. I mean, they have an understanding of the GIPs, they have an understanding of folks who come to the summit, but really the objective of I'm with SCRS is just to help our members understand what programs are being adopted and how, and then it offers a conversation with our GIPs on how they've approached that idea or innovation or sometimes practicality within their organizations. So thanks very much for that update. And I just wanted to share a little bit more about what going to happen at the Site Solutions Summit this year. So we're very excited about this October's meeting. Of course, for those of you who have not been, I think most of the folks on the line have, but for any of you who have not been, as a GIP, please note that your board member does receive, as their GIP representative to SCRS, a full registration to the Site Solutions Summit. In fact, they receive that registration to every Site Solutions Summit, and something that you can enjoy throughout the year, particularly in 2019 as we have a new meeting for oncology. But at this year's meeting, we'll start with the Thursday symposiums that are for site audiences only. We have several folks speaking. You can go to the www.sitesolutionsummit.com website and learn about IQVIA, Lilly, and Janssen, who are speaking this year on our symposium days, followed by Friday's kickoff in the general session on site landscape, and of course the expo hall. Saturday, as always, is a very busy session day filled with learning and networking, and capped off with our Eagle Awards, which once again is sponsored by our friends from Trifecta Clinical, Rick, Dave, and the team there. And then lastly, Sunday, we will have our breakfast opener in the expo hall, followed by general sessions throughout the day until about lunchtime. And then I have a slide here a little later on, but just everyone on the call, please be prepared that our GIP meeting, like every year, is going to be immediately following the Site Solutions Summit. I'll talk briefly about that in the next slide, next few slides. So this year, I will share that one new thing is the amount of exhibiting GIPs that we have for the Site Solutions Summit. And our solution providers always have been tremendous contributors to the Site Solutions Summit exhibit experience. But this year, I am happy to say we have a number of CROs and, of course, sponsor organizations joining in the expo hall and sending teams of folks. Many of you know that as part of SCRS, both ACRO and Transcelerate are very involved in our organizations and are big supporters. Transcelerate will have their Transcelerate experience at the summit for both Friday and Saturday while you're there. It's where folks can go and attendees can learn a little bit more about how Transcelerate is working with sites in the industry and how their innovations are taking shape at the different organizations that are members. And then, of course, ACRO is actually sponsoring our first-timers reception this year. So for our CROs that are on the line, know that ACRO is the sponsor of our first-timers reception, which will be held on Friday. But the idea is just really to meet and greet some of the new Summit folks that have never attended a meeting before. We are excited about that. We have a lot of folks that we've met over the last few months that are sharing that this is their first summit and they can't wait to be there. So we'll be celebrating that first-timers reception with ACRO and invite anyone that would like to attend to please come. So one thing that has percolated really at the GIP meeting as well as our leadership council is help us become more connected with attendees at the Site Solutions Summit. In fact, some of you have called us to share ideas on platforms, and just know that part of the meeting experience, when you register for a summit, the technology involved has a full platform that we're going to be integrating with a new app. We have the launch meeting tomorrow on our app, and we will be promoting it to all attendees as we get closer to the Site Solutions Summit. And the nice thing about it is you'll be able to check out your sessions, you'll be able to check out who's in Expo, but you'll also be able to connect with anyone who takes the step to create a profile on the app. And because of the makeup of not only our exhibitors but our attendees, it's the most collaborative event in the industry that I've been to. And I think one of the things that sets that apart is that the constituencies, while they're different, they're there because site success matters. And this app, our goal there is to help people just connect. Maybe they didn't get a chance to meet you face-to-face. But if you take the steps on the app, we hope to be able to introduce you to as many folks as you'd like over the course of the days there in Boca Raton. So look for some, we'll have a full marketing campaign around the release of the app, and look for that in the coming months as we approach the summit. And believe it or not, 3 months it will go by pretty quickly. One thing I did want to share with everyone on the line is oftentimes, particularly with our sponsor members, we will hear how valuable the expo is from a source selection standpoint. And I share that because I know there's a lot of other conferences in the makeup, a lot of great ones that we all attend over the course of the year. But one of the things that we try really hard to do at the Site Solutions Summit, and something that's near and dear to us, is provide an exhibit experience that is a little different, that feels collaborative and not a sales environment per se. While everyone has different business incentives for being there, we want to say that the Site Solutions Summit Expo floor is a unique opportunity to source solution providers that you're working with now, or innovations that you may want to bring to your organizations within the next 6 to 12 or even 18 months. And countless times we'll be bumping into folks and they'll say, you know, I met so-and-so at the Site Solutions Summit and we're beginning our work with them. And it's great, but this year we wanted to help our attendees interact and plan a little bit ahead of the game. So we've launched an interactive floor plan. There you'll be able to search by alpha category, and you can even print a visit list. So if if you were searching for something in particular, just as an example, maybe you needed a new patient recruitment, a few new ideas there, you could search that category, see what exhibitors are participating and offering those solutions, and print a list. That is all available to you from the SiteSolutionsSummit.com website. And our app will be there as well with more information as that campaign rolls out. Now, the summit, particularly the global meeting, has always been our flagship opportunity to connect with each of you, connect with each other and our audience. And a lot of times we've been speaking with GIP teams on their approach to the meeting. We certainly have a large number of sponsor organizations that are participating this year for the first time as exhibitors. And they want to know, hey, what's it like? How's it different? So I just wanted to go over a few quick tips. And everyone, even if you're not exhibiting and you want to know, hey, how come, give us the skinny on the Site Solutions Summit from start to finish. If you want to have that call, you are more than welcome to reach out to Marcus and I. We try to work through these ideas with everyone that it's appropriate with. But if you'd like to talk a little bit more and learn how you can maximize that weekend in your organization, we welcome that opportunity to speak with you on it anytime. But here's just a few quick ideas. One is a meeting roadmap. So what organizational stakeholders are involved with our SCRS audience, and what would they want to know when you get back from the Site Solutions Summit? Having that conversation ahead of the summit with peers in your organization about how your organization is working through site-facing innovation is a critical step. And it could be one that helps you stand out as a thought leader when you return back to your organizations after the summit. One thing that we suggest is to create a meeting email chain. And that's just internal with your own organization's updates around the Site Solutions Summit. Even if the subject line is as simple as Site Solutions Summit SCRS Update, we want to continue to provide you with some takeaways as we approach 2019. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But this is something you can do internally at your organizations. Whether you're a solution provider and are trying to equip your sales team, how they're talking about their interactions at the Site Solutions Summit with new potential clients, or if you're a sponsor and CRO and need to understand how site-facing initiatives are impacting your organization, how you can continue to share that message internally with other stakeholders that maybe aren't aware of our relationship and work. We want to try to get better at that, and this roadmap is a good way to start that. If you have that email chain, it's easy just to create quick updates along your way to the summit. I would also recommend, as we mentioned on the previous slide, consider solution provider needs over the next 12 months. What exhibitors are you working with now? Who do you need to work with later? or at least who do you need to know a little bit more about? Create your floor plan list. We have that tool available to you really year-round, but now that we're nearly sold out, it's complete, and you'll be able to take a look at that anytime you'd like on siteSolutionSummit.com. Another thing is always be learning. Choosing your sessions pre-summit. Now, if you're like me, when I go to sessions about business development and marketing, a lot of times I haven't taken this step. And I've tried to make an effort to do this year and last year, and I got to tell you, it drastically impacts my show experience. I'm able to go in with a plan around the sessions I want to attend, and most importantly, I talk with my colleagues about the sessions that match my organizational priority. So this applies to any meeting, not just the Site Solution Summit. Just for instance, when I went to DAA or Scope this year, I had a game plan on some of the sessions we wanted to attend and why those were important for us. This is the same approach you can have at the Site Solution Summit or any meeting that you have, but particularly because our meeting is so collaborative and the session construct is a little different. It's not all slide decks with a subject matter expert. Much of it is crowd solving, which leads to some wonderful anecdotal opportunities to understand the real challenges at a site level that they may have and bring them back to your team. So even share some of the sessions that you planning on attend, even if it's just a topic. Share that with your team organizationally and see if there's anything that they may have an interest in your role at the Site Solution Summit. You can even share the link to our agenda, which is, by the way, searchable by day, so you can kind of scroll through the day and topic areas. So it's a wonderful way to just sort of plan from a large-scale scope. And oftentimes when we're on the phone with each of you, you'll say, you know, I have a meeting with leadership, or I have a meeting with another team at your organizations, and we'd love to be able to share a little bit about the Site Solution Summit. Well, just know that there's videos at the Site Solution Summit website that can kind of help at least give you an overview of the experience. Last year, again, Trifecta Clinical helped us with the SCRS studio, and they interviewed dozens and dozens of attendees from all constituent groups, sponsors, CROs, sites, and business partners, and asked them a little bit about their work, period, and how site initiatives impact them. And they've created another great role. We're going to have that on the website at our SCRS Studio page here as we approach the Site Solution Summit. So another cool tool for you to share internally. One thing that I am learning and our team is learning is some of our GIPs, their communication teams are very interested in what their organization is doing with SCRS. Why is it important? How's it mission-focused and purpose-driven around what their organization does, period, and how they operate? And something that we hope to help proliferate a little bit more completely moving into 2019, is how our GIPs and really just our audience is interacting with us on social media. And so this is just as an idea. If you're new to Twitter or that's not really your thing, talk to your communications team. Let them know you're going to the Site Solution Summit. Let them know if you're exhibiting or perhaps you're participating in one of the sessions, or even just that you're attending. Let them learn a little bit more about SCRS. And again, I will offer that if anyone on the line right now or anyone that listens to our recording, if your communications team hasn't been introduced to SCRS and how it may help, depending on what type of organization you are, whether that's to foster client relationships or improve site-facing activity, have them reach out to us. We are happy to help them talk. You guys have been instrumental partners in building our organization, and we're happy to help them learn and communicate, is what I meant to say, about your role with SCRS. And so we can give them a few ideas, and we do hope to build some takeaways as we approach 2019 for you to share with those folks on who SCRS is and where we're headed. So we've got an infographic in the works just at a high level about who SCRS is, who makes up SCRS, and we want to give that to you all to be able to share with your peers and colleagues. And then this is maybe the easiest to do right now, but one of the hardest. Like normally when you follow up with someone to see if they've done this step, it becomes, priorities compete with it. But take a minute. Maybe it's 2 weeks after the Site Solutions Summit. Maybe it's 3 weeks. If you wanted to include our team on this meeting, we would love to do that with you. Schedule a meeting post-summit with your internal stakeholders at your organization. What details and takeaways did you learn that will be most impactful in your approach and efforts towards site success, whether depending on what type of organization you represent? And really, how does that inform your strategy for 2019? We want to be able to help you with that. And I think this is an opportunity to not only show how much of an impact your team has at your organization, but how you are leveraging and working with your relationship with SCRS and our audiences to bring that into focus and help us move the needle a little bit. So share and make aware. Team plan after the Site Solutions Summit is really the bullet point and takeaway here. One thing that we've asked or been asked is, hey, do you have a brand or a logo or something that we can put? So we do. We created digital stamps that are GIPs, or if you're an exhibitor, or if you're just attending or speaking or whatever. We have about 6 of these varieties. And we are going to be able to share this with you. I believe Marcus will respond to everyone that's on the call today with a link to a file where if you so choose and you wanted to use any of these logos, you may. We definitely are thrilled to have you and excited to have you at the Site Solutions Summit, or just basically be involved with SCRS. We'll talk a little bit. Maybe what we need to do is also have these for our GIPs. We've talked about creating some brand identity just for the GIP program as well. But for now, with just sort of what's directly in front of us and the Site Solutions Summit, we've created a folder with these digital stamps and a little bit of a guideline here on where you can use them. If it's helpful to you and your organization, we would welcome you to use them. And look for that in the next week or so from our team. One of the most important hours of the year is our Global Impact Partner Meeting. Christine, Diana, myself, Dawn, Dan, Allison, everyone that you guys have met over the last few years, we've always worked to make this time special and unique. And I think this year we're really going to be focused on ways to improve some of the initiatives and strategies that we've rolled out over the last couple of years and where we need to prioritize moving forward. So I mentioned earlier that one of those areas is the ambassador program, and we'll be sending you out some questions to get some feedback on ahead of this meeting. But really the idea is we want to give everyone some time to network, learn from each other. Oh, and a really big thing that we want to do is provide a roster with just everyone who's a GIP. So, you know, if you're struggling with something and maybe there's a colleague across the aisle that can be helpful or make an introduction, we want to be able to foster those relationships. But really this GIP meeting is about helping us to really build out our strategy together as GIPs and SCRS moving into next year. So for everyone from a planning perspective, the GIP meeting goes till about 3. Now sometimes I will share that Our GIP reps, we get it. It's Sunday. People want to get home. But I will share that if you can stay till the end, we've got wonderful opportunities to network and meet. And this is a meeting you don't want to miss. So please put it on your calendar. We'll have a lunch immediately following the Site Solutions Summit. We'll meet for about 2 hours with an agenda that we will share pre-meeting with some takeaway points that we hope to build with you after the Site Solutions Summit, and then we'll end it with a social. And what's better way to unwind after a great summit than some quick refreshments with friends. So we'll do that at 3 o'clock on Sunday. So the meeting will end at 3, followed by the GIP social immediately thereafter. And please, we welcome you to stay for that in its entirety. More details will come. So while this is just a soft reminder, but we'll have a more formal one as we get closer to the Site Solutions Summit, everyone. So where are we heading into 2019, sort of the end of 2018 or the third and fourth quarter and moving into next year? We want to continue to stress organizational communication. So it's not just making sure that your teams are more aware of the programs that are going on with SCRS, but also that we are equipping your organizations with opportunities to share what you're doing with the work you're doing with SCRS. We are very close to sharing this new partner website, which we'll be able to use and share. You guys will be able to see some of the programs that we've got and what other GIPs are working on. You can see it's loading here. This is a great opportunity for us really to kind of share a little bit more about the scope that SCRS provides in a given year. So we're looking to make this a tool. So if you're interested in specific events, you'll be able to see a little bit about our events. If you need to communicate just about SCRS and your role with SCRS, this website is meant to sort of focus on our corporate partner programs, our GIPs, and why the GIP program is impactful and important. This website is meant to help you do some of that. And of course, if you have interest in the additional programs that SCRS has built, this is a way to learn more and get involved. And so we're hoping to launch this within the next month, of course, to our GIPs, everyone on the call. And this is just a quick teaser of what we're up to. We're also proud to say that we are working currently on a new member-facing website and system moving into 2019. So we hope to be able to launch that in the first quarter. Anyone who has gone through that experience knows there's a lot of not only content, but system management you have to understand and implement. But the goal of this is to help provide a state-of-the-art member experience that continues to grow with SCRS, thanks in large part to many of you on the phone. And then again, we also want to just remind everyone and welcome that if there's anything that you need from a mission or objective standpoint to help your team with your work with SCRS, we're here to help. Some folks have shared just general questions about the summit or exhibiting or the initiatives or diversity or oncology. Any of these things, we're here to help you, and we just want to make sure that you're aware of how to reach us. And so just to wrap it up real quickly, I want to just say when you have a question, who do we reach out to? Jimmy has been a huge asset to us in terms of helping us get the GIP initiatives communicated and organized around many of our GIPs. If you have a question about an initiative, please reach out to Jimmy. If you're curious if perhaps you're on the line today and you're not sure if you're enrolled as a GIP member in your organization, know that SCRS membership is organizationally based. So if you're a member, all your colleagues in your organization, as long as they have your same domain name, can be members of SCRS. Let Russell know if there's someone that we need to sign up. Marcus and myself are here to work with you on the project-facing aspects of SCRS. And of course, anytime that you need help or just have a general question, please reach out to us so we can help. With that, the only question that I have, and I know we're out of time, so I'm going to be super, super brief. But I think that one of the questions we have is how do I get registered with your team or as a GIP? So that you can certainly reach out to myself or Russell, and we'll make sure you have the code to register. It's one person per GIP that can register with that code, but that way you make sure that you're registered for the Site Solutions Summit. Well, let's just see, I have one other question. Yes, we would like that example. So one of our GIPs has shared that the conferences they attend, they work hard at creating a post that noting if someone's a speaker or a panelist, and certainly tagging that person. We can certainly explore that. As you all understand, if you're being involved as an exhibitor, a panelist, a speaker, a symposium provider, these are all wonderful ways to contribute, and certainly something that we can explore. Given the time that we're slightly over, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up and just invite anyone with questions. If you have them, please reach out to any of us directly. And again, we'll be sending a copy of this webcast today to each of you on the line today with a video, so that you may be able to share that with colleagues as you'd like. Thank you so much for your continued contributions to SCRS. We look forward to speaking with you and hopefully seeing you in just a few short months at the Site Solutions Summit. And thanks to all my fellow colleagues for their time and preparation today. And we look forward to seeing everyone soon. Thanks so much.